Good morning. We're just a little bit after 10, so we can go ahead and start. People may linger in with their breakfast, but I'm so glad that all of y'all are here. This morning, we're going to hear about Magdalene Serenity House and St. Martin's. As we have had the past couple of weeks, for those of you who have been here, we have another colorful sheet with some things for you to reflect on, some scripture, some ways to discern where you are being called in your own outreach. You don't have to do anything with it for the next hour. Take it home, look at it later. All you have to do right now is listen and hear how God is speaking through our outreach partners. So we'll start by hearing from April and Sophie, is that right? And they will be telling us all about Magdalene Serenity House. That on you? Just anywhere on the top of your shirt will work.
Okay.
And then this can go in your pocket.
In my pocket? I don't have any pockets.
Or
wait, no, I do.
on the top of your
I do. Okay, and it's on.
It's on?
Okay, maybe. Got these little baby pockets.
It's a funny thing to do. But you're live, so.
I'm live? Okay, so people can hear me? Okay.
13, hi April. It's David Johnson.
Yes, it is. Hello. It's so good to see you.
Thanks. We think about you every time we drive by.
Yes. Please send
Gwen's
Gwen.
getting better. I think she might be able to recycle back in somewhere.
Oh, good. Well, tell her we love her and we miss
We had a
her.
very tough summer.
Yeah.
Things are improving better.
Okay. It's so good to see you. Okay. Can you hear me? You think so? Okay. Okay. You can hear me? Okay, perfect. Good. Okay, good. I just want to give everyone a chance to catch up with one another. I know we don't get to see each other very often in person, so thank you all for having us. We're so excited to share with you about the great work we've been doing at Magdalene Serenity House. For those of you who may not be familiar with what we do, our goal is to rebuild the lives of women who have experienced trauma, sexual exploitation, addiction, and incarceration. And we do that in three main ways: through safe housing, long-term support, and community partnerships. Y'all might not know this, but incarcerated women remain the fastest growing prison population nationwide. So that's not just unique to Arkansas. We are seeing this trend across our country. And since 1980, the number of women in the Arkansas jails and prisons has dramatically increased. So we're seeing almost a 1,500% increase in women incarcerated in our state alone. What we know about incarcerated women is that they are often affected by health issues. That might be substance abuse, medical problems, and most often mental health needs. That's how they're getting most often into the prison system. They also have histories of complex trauma, including childhood abuse and neglect, childhood sexual abuse, domestic violence, and sexual violence. So if you talk to any of our residents at Magdalene Serenity House, they will have a history of substance abuse. They will have a mental health diagnosis, and they will have a history of lifelong trauma, most often starting with early childhood abuse, moving into intimate partner violence, sexual violence, and then unfortunately, they end up in the prison system. You guys might know this since you all have the prison ministry, but most people do not realize that we have a women's prison here in Fayetteville. It's very close to St. Paul's, and this is a 114-bed facility for women offenders. So what's really neat about this prison is that the women get treatment. They are getting treatment education, job skills from sun up to sundown. So if you have to go to prison, this is where you want to go, because the goal is recovery, rebuilding their life and setting them up for a successful release from prison. Suzanne, you're in the picture if you didn't notice. You are. On the internet, Suzanne. Even though we do have this great prison program, there are challenges for women being released. Number one is there's a lack of safe places to parole out to once women are released. So what we're seeing are that women are making these great strides in this program. They're confident, they're ready to go out into the community, but they have to go back to where they came from, back to the same unhealthy environment, back to where the addiction started, the abuse, poverty. And what happens is the cycle then repeats itself. We also see that women, when they're coming out, they're going to have outstanding charges, legal issues, debt. A big part of what we do at Magdalene is help them clean up those outstanding charges, because unfortunately, just because you go to prison, it doesn't end there. And it takes a lot of support to help clean up that outstanding criminal history. They also have an imposition of large fines and fees for their offenses. We celebrated one of our graduates paying off $8,000 in fines and fees by the time she graduated her program. We celebrated it because she was debt-free, but no person should be saddled with that type of fines and fees upon release. And honestly, y'all, that is the low end. We have a resident currently in our care with over $16,000 in court fines and fees that continue just to add up. Very problematic and very overwhelming when you get out, thinking, how am I going to pay these down? Who's going to hire me? Where am I going to live? You can see just how scary it is to be released from prison. We also see housing restrictions for persons with a felony record. And unfortunately, we see that here in Fayetteville. One of the largest property management companies here in Fayetteville and Northwest Arkansas will not rent to a person with a felony record. So very challenging once you're released from prison to be able to find a safe place to live. There's also a lack of employment opportunities for persons with a felony record. So most places still are going to have that box related to criminal history or a felony record, and they're often overlooked, even though they're coming out of prison with a strong set of tangible skills and a drive and a willingness to do whatever it takes. They still face those challenges in the community. And then we also see these unaddressed physical and mental health challenges. So they've done their time, they have some sobriety behind them, but we're also dealing with other lingering health issues, mental health issues that do require attention if they're going to be successful. So our solution to this issue, thanks to St. Paul's, was Magdalene Serenity House. We recognize that every woman deserves a safe place to parole out to once they have finished their prison sentence. And we opened this beautiful property on September 29th, 2017. If you haven't visited us, we are located in Wilson Park. So you can't really miss this big yellow house with blue doors. And we are so grateful to the St. Paul's community because, again, we would not have been able to make this dream come alive without your support. So I want to tell you just a little bit about our program. It is an up to 2-year program. It is at no cost to the women, so they don't have to worry about paying rent, bills, utilities. They can focus on self. They can focus on continuing their recovery and healing. We can house a total of 8 women at one time. We currently have a full house that stays very full. The need remains very great in our community. And we are a licensed facility. So a lot of people don't know that women on parole, they can't just go to any place to live. They can't just go to any transitional housing facility. It has to be approved by the parole board. And we are one of 2 licensed facilities here in Northwest Arkansas where women can parole out to. So you think we have a 114 bed facility here, and we only have 8 spots. So we're filling a need, but you can see the need is so great in this community for safe places for these women to transition to. So a little bit about our program. It's broken down into 3 phases. So in phase 1, we're really focused on rest, healing, and recovery. So we're getting them to the doctor, okay, because we are dealing with a lot of unaddressed physical health needs. We're getting them connected with mental health treatment, with a therapist to meet their needs. We're getting their teeth fixed. We're so grateful to have 2 incredible dental partners here in Northwest Arkansas who are helping our women get their smiles back. Because we want to address these issues before we send them into the workplace. They're meeting with our staff, developing a treatment plan, deciding what are my goals and what do I need to reach them. They're meeting with Sophia to work on their recovery and get one-on-one support, because getting released from prison can be incredibly overwhelming. There are so many different moving pieces, and we want to help them put those pieces together and figure out, how do I hold still? How do I feel safe? How do I build trusting relationships again? That's the foundational work happening in phase 1. And we're running an in-house recovery program. And so they are in groups. They are learning what it feels like to be on the outside again, because it's a lot different. You can feel very safe on the inside. It's structured. People are telling you what to do, how to do it, when to do it. We don't do that at Magdalene. We're taking back our freedom. We are empowering them to make good decisions, and we are standing by them every step of the way. In phase 2, we're helping them prepare for the workforce. So Sophia does a beautiful job helping them identify safe employers, working on a beautiful new resume, cover letters, thinking about what do you want to do and what is possible. We meet with employers that they might be interested in working with and encouraging them to tell their story and teaching them how to do so. And again, they're still participating in our program. They're still meeting with staff. So they're figuring out, how do I balance work, recovery, family, and how do I do that in a supportive and safe way? In phase 3, we're helping them transition into the community. So we're figuring out what comes next. We're working with them to identify safe housing. Are they going to parent their children? And if so, what support needs to be in place? They're still working their program. They're still receiving support from staff. We do have requirements for program completion, so they have to do a portfolio to move from each phase. And it's not about meeting requirements, rather celebrating the successes. We want them to see how hard they have worked in this program, and we want to celebrate them every step of the way. And what's really neat about our program is that we provide support to them once they graduate the program. So we will go into the home, we will work with them on parenting, whatever is coming up as they're on their own and moving towards independence, we are going to be there for them. A new development in late 2020 is a new aftercare house that you all may have heard of. We recognize the challenge of finding safe and affordable housing here in Northwest Arkansas. So we were able to purchase the adjacent property to Magdalene, and this is going to be a house for our Magdalene graduates to pay affordable rent and really learn to apply those real-world skills and still receive some support from our program staff. So if you drive by Magdalene, you'll see what we call the White House in this moment. When it is all said and done, and we do some renovations to the basement, it is going to be able to house 4 women. They will pay affordable rent, and they can stay there for up to 1 year. And we currently have 1 resident living there on the top floor, and she's doing extremely well. She's learning how to pay rent. She's learning how to save money, which is probably one of the hardest skills, not only for our residents, but for most people. but she's still getting that support from our staff. You know, she just popped by to see me on Friday. She had an issue come up. We're able to still work through that. Our team is small but mighty. We are a team of licensed social workers, and Sophia is our certified peer support specialist. She is one of the first to be going through this new intensive programming through the state of Arkansas. And then we also have interns that we bring in from the university to support our program and services. It's really neat that all of our staff have been with Magdalene since the day it opened. And so we've seen all the changes, we've learned a lot together, and we really are passionate about the work we do. A couple pictures of the house. So you can see bright yellow house, beautiful lot. The women, when we bring them up from the prison, they just can't believe that this is where they get to live for 2 years. It's safe, it's serene, it feels like a home, which is what we had always been trying to achieve. See, we have a beautiful living room, a kitchen fit for 8 women, a dining room that now is actually a quilting studio, thanks to Joan Bayette, and our women's interest in quilting. They are incredible, the most creative and talented women. I could not do it, and they just throw quilts together like it's nobody's business. We have 2 women to a room, and then we also have these really beautiful welcome baskets because all of our women are coming from prison with nothing. They come with a cardboard box of the things that they completed in prison, and we have to help them start over. So we put together these really beautiful welcome baskets. Sophia takes them shopping for groceries, clothing. We move at their pace, and we make sure that they don't have to worry about where their next meal is going to come from, or a safe place to lay their head, or how they're going to get their clothes. We take care of all of that for them. And we do yoga. This resident is actually a graduate, and she went on to become a certified Pilates instructor. So again, we want to connect them with education and training if that's what they want to do. And I'm going to turn it over to Sophia to tell her story, because if you don't know, Sophia was the first graduate from Magdalene Serenity House and has been a vital part of our staff. And I'm so grateful to be able to do this work alongside her. So Sophia, I'm going to hand you this.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you have to use the microphone too.
Hello. Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're here.
Is that good? Is that good? Okay. First, I want to thank you all for inviting us. A number of you have been so impactful in my recovery, both personally and as supporters of Magdalene House. I feel like I'm here amongst friends. I don't usually get emotional. So, my name is Sophia Dugweiler. I was raised in Salem Springs by a wonderful family. Middle class, loving, supportive. I was afforded every opportunity, but unfortunately, addiction is not very choosy in who it affects. So I started using drugs and alcohol from a very early age. It affected my relationships with other people, my schooling. Further on into early adulthood, I couldn't find or maintain a job. I was a very challenging daughter and sister, and it just became so ingrained in my lifestyle. That was all I knew. And so I'm sorry. Okay, so I used drugs and alcohol for probably about 12 years, and about halfway through that stint, I had been selling some drugs to support my habit, because again, I couldn't maintain a job, I didn't have any relationships or really any support. I ended up selling drugs to an undercover cop 3 times and went to prison for the first time in 2010. I set out my time, I made big plans for how things were going to change. I was going to get a job, be a good mother. My son was 2 when I went to prison. I was going to figure it out. Fortunately, I wasn't able to do that. I got out, I tried to refrain from using drugs and alcohol, but I still didn't know how to function as an adult. I didn't know how to handle hard feelings or responsibility. I went back home where everybody I knew and also knew me as a certain type of person. So I went back to prison 3 times. Just for absconding, so I would relapse, and I just could not own my behavior, so I wouldn't report to my parole officer. It wasn't until my 4th trip to prison where I got to go to the women's ACC here and received my first treatment through the judicial system. It was there where I really connected with a counselor. The program, which teaches us accountability, and we do a lot of processing, we do a lot of packets, which address different issues. I connected with a 12-step program, and I made a lot of changes. And then I started to question whether or not I should try to do what I had tried 4 times previously and go back home. And then Magdalene House came and did a presentation, and it was ideal. They were going to help me address all of the issues that I had been faced with in the past and just had no idea how to cope with. So I left ACC and went to Magdalene House, and they set me down this path to recovery. They helped me integrate into the community. I met so many wonderful people who really showed me unconditional love and support, which I hadn't had in the past. They helped me obtain a really great job where I thought they wouldn't hire me. I'm not qualified. Don't you know I'm a criminal? Who am I to be put in this position? But they encouraged me to follow through with that, and I got a really wonderful position for lifestyles. I was an art teacher. It's incredible. And then it came time to graduate. My son was 11 at the time, I believe, and so through networking and building relationships with supporters of Magdalene House, somebody had given me an opportunity to rent one of his apartments. And I love my home. My son and I are doing really well. At the beginning of last year, I came back to Magdalene House as a staff member. And so I really, truly believe in the power of peer work. I do that in my 12-step program. I do that now in my day-to-day life through Magdalene House. I'm really able to offer a neat perspective for the women having been there, having gone through the challenges, moving into the house, not knowing what to expect, being faced with challenges, and being able to kind of relate my experiences to them or talk to them on their level. Not that the social workers don't, but it's we speak a different language occasionally, and I speak their language, and I get it. And I'm able to offer support, as she said, with recovery services. I help plug them into the recovery community. We get to process through different emotions and challenges that are coming up. I facilitate a few groups a week. I do a recovery group right now, and then we have a volunteering group. I must say that the volunteering group is one of our favorites. We get out in the community, we find a need, a service, and we get right to it. And the girls just love giving back to their community. I offer peer support every week in phase 1, but as they transition through the phases, peer support then becomes optional. We just work on the needs that they have currently. I know that working at Magdalene House and staying plugged into my community, my recovery community, and just the Fayetteville community at large has made all of the difference for me. I had never had that connectedness that I feel currently, and I'm so grateful for that. And just again, I have so many friends in this room, and y'all have been there for years for me personally, and I just want to thank y'all for that.
All right, y'all, I'm gonna hustle through this, and it's always hard to follow up Sophia's experience. It's such a beautiful story, and it's been such an honor to work with her and then also continue to work with her as a colleague. So thank you so much, Sophia. I did want to talk just real quick about the impact of COVID on Magdalene. We're still standing, we're still full, so grateful for that. We're safe, we're healthy. We have not had a case of COVID in the house, knock on the fake wood. So we're feeling really good. But it did result in a loss of volunteers and interns. As staff, we had to pick up increased responsibility to make all of the parts of our comprehensive program work. We had to figure out, how do we protect the health and safety of our residents, but still respect their autonomy, and listen to them about what their needs are, but also do a lot of education around COVID and the impact it could have on their health and their loved ones and our community. Employment challenges. In the beginning, all of our residents lost their jobs, but then thankfully, as the economy picked back up, they were able to get their employment back, and we helped each of them qualify for benefits in the meantime. But you can imagine how scary that is. Getting out, getting a job, you're finally getting going, and then a pandemic hits. But they've been so resilient, and I'm so proud of them for that. And of course, an inability to hold fundraisers, but thankful for a lot of really unique grant opportunities during COVID that really helped us continue to bring in revenue and continue to do the work that we do in the way that we wanted to be able to do it. How to help? Of course, you can donate. You can do that online or via the mail. We have an Amazon wish list that we always keep updated with our current needs. Volunteer. Obviously we're seeing an unfortunate surge in the virus again. But if you are vaccinated, willing to wear a mask, and comfortable, we welcome you to continue to get involved with Magdalene. Follow us on social media. I know this seems small, but it's actually really important to like, share our posts. A lot of funders are asking for all of our social media handles, how many followers we have, because they want to see impact. And so if you're not following us and you are on social media, please just give us a like, if nothing else, and subscribe to our newsletter. We send out a monthly newsletter to keep folks updated on what we're up to at Magdalene, and you can subscribe via our website. We just want to say thank you so much for having us here today. It takes a community to heal, and we are so grateful that you are part of ours, and we would not be where we are today if we had not had folks like you who believed in second chances, third chances, and believed that these women can heal and recover. So thank you. I'm so grateful for each of you.
Thank y'all.
Yeah.
That was wonderful. So glad to hear about all y'all are doing. We'll take a couple questions, and then I'll share about St. Martin's as well. I'll, remind you that this is week 3 of this series. So we have another colorful sheet. This series is at least in part to help you, know what's happening in our community and where St. Paul's is partnering, and also to help you discern where God may be speaking into your life and calling you into maybe a new ministry, maybe a continued ministry. So there's some thoughts for discernment and reflection. There's more of those on the table right as you come in the door. Not to oversell a reflection that I wrote, but I also will come around with the microphone where this is on live stream, so people at home cannot hear your question, even if we can in the room, unless you speak into the microphone.
I'm just curious who your dental partners are. Give them a shout out. And then also, what kind of jobs are women looking for, and who would be, what do you need from the community as far as job opportunities?
Yeah, I can definitely give a shout out to our dental partners because they have been so gracious. So we work with Dr. Beth Bowen at Bowen Dental Studio. So again, if you know her or you're on social media, give her a like, a follow, tell her thank you. Again, our women often need intensive restorative work, and she's doing that for free, and that's huge. We also work with Sequoia Dental and Dr. William Wilson. Again, our women love our dental partners. They make them feel safe accepted, they are non-judgmental, and they're willing to do what it takes to help our women get their smiles back. So thank you to our dental partners. Sophia, do you want to talk about employment? Oh, you don't have a microphone. Talking to my chest.
As far as current needs, we have one resident who really wants to work with animals. She's looking at how to pursue like a higher education and certification in working with animals, but really in any capacity I think would be ideal for her. There is another resident who is looking for like a production or assembly manufacturing type position, because that's what that's where she's worked in the past, and she knows that she'll make good money. So I think when our residents are looking for employment, they're looking for somewhere that's going to pay a living wage, something that they have some experience in, and also somebody who will hire them. With our felony convictions, it can be quite difficult, especially depending on the felony conviction. But like April said, we do a lot of work with resume writing and also talking about how to talk about my conviction, how to talk about my addiction and all the things that I have done since. And I found, both personally and with our residents, is when they sit down with an employer to interview and they explain their story and they appeal to that employer in terms of their progress and all of the work that they're doing and the amount of accountability. We're looking for employers who are willing to give our girls a second chance and pay them a living wage. I know when I had moved into Magdalene House, I almost would have settled for anything because it had been such a barrier in the past. So an environment where they might fit in and feel accepted, of course a living wage, and employers who are willing and happy to give second chances. Does that make sense?
We also have a resident who is bilingual and looking for a receptionist position. She just finished the Transitional Employment Opportunity Program at Goodwill. She's going to continue to work at Goodwill as she looks for other opportunities, but she is outstanding. And we would love to see her in that receptionist position and being able to utilize her ability to speak Spanish. I mean, that's a huge asset to an employer. So that is certainly another option. And a lot of them want to work with people. They want to give back. They want to help folks. And there are a lot of barriers with a felony conviction to working with people. But if you know of an employer who is willing to look beyond that, we have a lot of women who just want to give back to this community that has given so graciously to them.
We can do one more question and then we'll transition. I imagine that April and Sophia will be glad to chat one-on-one afterwards as well.
For sure.
Hi, I was surprised at 2 years. It seems like a very short time to undo a lot of stuff. So is that, would you have the program be longer if you had more resources, or is 2 years a good time to let people be on their own?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I love that you said that 2 years may not be enough. I think we often get the opposite of 2 years, my goodness, that's a long time. It's not. It flies by. And so, what we really do is we just look at the resident, look at what their needs are, and look at the timeline for when that can be accomplished. So we will have some women graduate at a year, 18 months, 2 years. But I'll tell you, if they're not ready at the 2-year mark, we're not just going to say, well, 2 years, time is up. We're going to continue to figure out what they need to feel comfortable reintegrating into the community. So this is not a one-size-fits-all approach. It's about meeting the resident where they're at and developing this program around those needs. So they can stay longer if that's what it's going to take. We're not going to have that really hard cutoff. And that's part of why we are piloting this aftercare program, because we do recognize that an additional year may be needed for some women, not all, but for some, and we want to give them that extra year to continue to receive that support from us in very close proximity. Like I can walk across the yard to their home. And that's also why we provide that ongoing support once they graduate, because we know it's hard. And some do have to move up their graduation date in order to take custody of their children. That tends to be a bit of an accelerator. And so we want to make sure that even if maybe they weren't quite ready to graduate, but we have to in order for their child to have a safe place to live, we're going to continue to wrap them in support and care and make sure that they are okay and that we are going to be there as they navigate these new responsibilities. That's what I love about our program. It doesn't just stop once you graduate. It doesn't just stop even if you don't graduate. If you call us and you have a need, we're going to be there for you, and we're going to help you navigate whatever life is throwing at you. And I can tell you, just about every single person who has not made it through the program has called back. We are their safe people. They know they can call back, and it's going to be non-judgmental, and we're going to get them the help they need. Thank you. Yeah.
Is that good? Okay, now hopefully you can hear me better. Yes, so still learning with the students and also bringing what I have from my own education and just who I am as a priest. St. Martin's to me is all about a space of belonging. Going to college is hard. For many people, it is their first time away from home for more than maybe a sleepover or going to grandparents' house for a week. It's a big transition. You're going and living with someone you probably have never met before in a new space. Even if you are going to school in the same city, you're inhabiting it in a really different way. It's that first try for many people at adult life, which, as it relates to St. Martin's, means adult faith. It is a really different thing to step into an adult version of our faith and experience that without the help or pressure from parents, and to see what it is that is really important in a young person's life of their own accord. So it's a place of belonging for people to come and know that they can be home there, know that they are safe there, to explore both their faith and their doubts and the ways those are connected, and have a community there. It's a place of affirmation and love. We are there to remind people that they are loved by God, they are loved by the people that surround them in that space, which means a lot in a time of transition, a time of newness. A reminder of love is, I think, something we all always need. So you are all beloved children of God. Goes without saying, but I'll remind you, and that is a big thing that I bring into my ministry and something that I hope I can offer consistent reminders to students of that love, both in words and in action, which brings me to the piece of hospitality. St. Martin's is all about hospitality. Dinner is a big part of the life of that community. We have Tuesday dinner at St. Martin's. That'll be starting next week. Next Tuesday, we'll start dinner with that community, and we'll have Eucharist after that. So there's an opportunity to engage in fellowship and then engage around God's table as well. Worship, as I said, there's Eucharist. There's also time for Compline, evening prayer. Generally, I would be the leader of Eucharist. The prayer and office would be something that students can lead by and for themselves with support as they need it. But that's a way for them to step into liturgical leadership as well and leadership in that faith community. There is a focus on prayer, again, through worship, through small groups, and through pastoral care. That's a lot of my role there, is to be a person who is available to them for whatever it is that they need as they navigate college. There is time for study and formation. The peer ministers lead small groups for their peers, other students, with the help from the chaplain to format that curriculum of sorts for them, but that's led, again, by and for their fellow students, which I find really wonderful that they are able to do that for one another. And again, fellowship. Looking at all of my notes here. That's sort of in a nutshell what we're all about. The primary ways that St. Martin's would benefit from your support are, one, if there are young people in your life, be they students at University of Arkansas, students at another local university, or people who are college-aged, maybe in school, maybe working, but could benefit from a community of folks who are in that same age bracket. Let them know that we exist. Send them our way. I have cards that are all about a week at St. Martin's. Offer some contact information. You can take as many of those as you need and pass those along to the young people in your life. We will be a part of some of those beginning of school events, but that's a one-time chance to reach people who are going through orientation and being bombarded with information. They'll see us, but a reminder from someone that cares about them and loves them is always helpful. Word of mouth and people just walking by our building are the primary ways that people would find out about us. They may have a really wonderful youth minister that informs them that we exist, and still every reminder is a good reminder. So send them our way. Then the second way is that we need help with that dinner on Tuesday evenings. There are a variety of ways that you can sponsor that dinner. You are most welcome to come to the St. Martin's Kitchen or in your own kitchen, prepare a meal for the folks who will gather that evening. You are welcome to purchase, pick up, and deliver a meal, or talk to me about some other creative way that you might want to engage with that. If cost is a barrier to that, but you love to cook, we can make sure the ingredients are purchased, and then you get to share in your gifts in the kitchen. So there's a lot of ways that we can make that work, but your help makes that all the more possible. And I think a lot of love goes into cooking, so that's a great way to share. That is the brief rundown on St. Martin's. I'm glad to answer questions if there's things that I left out. And again, I'm available to y'all every day, so I can do that briefly. All right. That may be where we close, which leaves some time for y'all to talk to April and Sophia as well. I'll leave these on the back table for anyone that has a person that they might want to pass it along to, or take one, keep it in your bag, and you never know when you'll encounter someone who might need that space. Thank y'all. Thank you for being here for week 3.
Thank you.
All right, hang out, enjoy the rest of your breakfast. Gonna head to church. We have baptism.